Expectation is not something we choose. It is something we drift into, quietly, almost automatically. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It simply becomes the place where the mind spends most of its time. Ahead. Ahead of what is happening, ahead of where we are, ahead of the moment that is unfolding right now. Expectation feels responsible. It feels mature. It feels like preparation. But more often than not, it is a subtle way of leaving the present. From the moment the day begins, expectation begins with it. Before the body has fully awakened, the mind is already projecting forward. What needs to be done? What might happen? What should happen? We wake up into anticipation, not into the day itself. The present moment becomes something to pass through on the way to something else, something later, something imagined. Expectation is not loud. It is persistent. It lives in small thoughts, in mental rehearsals, in imagined conversations that may never occur. We replay future scenarios again and again, as if repetition could grant control, as if imagining outcomes could soften uncertainty. But uncertainty is not softened. It is only postponed. Expectation creates a constant leaning forward, a mental posture that is never fully upright. The body may be here, but the attention is already ahead. Living ahead of the moment becomes normal, so normal that we forget there is another way to live. Expectation convinces us that presence is inefficient, that being here is unproductive, that value exists somewhere else, later, after something happens, after success, after resolution, after clarity. But clarity rarely arrives before experience. And yet we wait for it anyway. Expectation turns life into a series of checkpoints. Moments are no longer lived, they are evaluated. Is this leading somewhere? Is this useful? Is this enough? And because the present moment rarely answers those questions clearly, it is quietly dismissed. Expectation always asks more of the future than it asks of the present. It loads meaning onto what has not happened yet, while draining it from what is happening now. This creates a strange imbalance. We are always preparing to live, but rarely arriving. Expectation dresses itself as hope, but they are not the same. Hope is open. Expectation is specific. Hope allows space for surprise. Expectation demands alignment. And when reality does not align, disappointment appears. Not because something bad happened, but because something different happened. Expectation teaches us to negotiate with the future instead of meeting the present. We bargain with time. If I get through this, then I can relax. If this goes well, then I'll feel okay. If this ends, then something better can begin. But the mind that lives this way never rests, because one expectation always gives birth to another. The future becomes a moving target, and fulfillment is always postponed. Expectation fragments attention. We listen while planning what to say next. We walk while thinking about arrival. We rest while anticipating interruption. Nothing is fully received. Everything is partial. Living ahead of the moment creates a constant sense of absence, even when life is full. Expectation is the art of being elsewhere while being here. It turns time into a means rather than an experience. The present moment becomes a hallway, not a room. Something we move through quickly, eager to reach what comes next. But hallways were never meant to be lived in. The mind learns this habit early. We are rewarded for anticipation, praised for planning, encouraged to think ahead, and slowly, almost invisibly, we lose the ability to stay. Expectation becomes a reflex. The moment something begins, we are already imagining how it will end. The body feels this as tension, as subtle pressure, as a background hum of waiting for the next email, the next message, the next change. Waiting becomes the dominant emotional state. Expectation keeps us slightly dissatisfied by design because it is oriented toward improvement, not appreciation. What is happening now is never quite enough. There is always something that should be added, adjusted, improved. Expectation does not trust the present to be complete. It assumes that meaning must be manufactured through outcomes. But the most meaningful moments often arrive without warning. They are not expected, they are noticed. Expectation blinds us to them because it trains attention to look forward, not around. Living ahead of the moment also shapes how we relate to ourselves. We expect ourselves to feel a certain way, to perform consistently, to progress linearly, and when we don't, we judge. We interpret natural fluctuations as failures, rest as weakness, pauses as delays. Expectation does not allow rhythms, it prefers timelines. But life moves in cycles, not straight lines. Expectation flattens experience into goals and milestones. Presence restores texture. It allows moments to be uneven, incomplete, unresolved. Expectation demands closure. Presence tolerates openness. This is uncomfortable at first. The present moment has no guarantees, no promises. It asks for attention without offering control. Expectation offers control without offering life. Living ahead feels safer because it is familiar. But familiar does not mean true. The present moment does not shout. It waits. It waits for attention that is no longer trained to stay. Expectation trains us to skip, to rush through silence, to fill gaps, to move on quickly. But silence is where life often speaks. Not in conclusions, not in outcomes, but in subtle shifts, in quiet awareness, in moments that are easily overlooked. Expectation turns those moments into background noise. Living ahead of the moment also creates a fragile relationship with time. We feel there is never enough of it, because we are always spending it on what is not here yet. The present feels brief, thin, almost invisible, but when attention returns, time expands. Not because there is more of it, but because it is no longer being skipped. Expectation is a way of leaving before arriving. Presence is a way of arriving without leaving. This does not mean abandoning planning or intention. It means noticing when planning becomes escape, when anticipation replaces experience, when the mind is no longer preparing but avoiding uncertainty, avoiding discomfort, avoiding the rawness of now. Expectation promises relief later. Presence offers depth now. Living ahead keeps life theoretical. Living now makes it tangible. Expectation reduces moments to steps. Presence allows moments to stand on their own. There is nothing wrong with the future, but it does not need to be inhabited. It will arrive on its own. The question is whether you will be here when it does. Expectation says, be ready. Presence says, be here. One is tense, the other is alive. Living ahead feels efficient. Living now feels real. And perhaps the most radical act in a world built on anticipation is this: to allow the moment to be enough before deciding what comes next. To stay just a little longer where you already are.